This is Joris Verdin that I'm speaking to. He is probably one of the 5 most prominent harmonium players in the world and has done unbelievable work in promoting the music and the instruments for many years, and has a very distinguished career as a teacher and as a performer and as a recording artist. And I'm very curious to get your assessment of where things started in terms of the interest in the harmonium, and what you contributed or felt that happened, and where things are today.
So, well, actually, it's a very good question, but it's hard to answer, I think, because as a harmonium player, I am in the midst of what is happening in the harmonium world. So I can't see it from outside, and I think it makes a big difference.
Right.
So the only thing I can say is that actually, I was familiar with the harmonium since ever I remember, because actually it was a confusion, kind of mistake, that when I was a child I went to church and I heard a wonderful organ playing, but afterwards it turned out it was a harmonium by Alexandre. So my ears are probably distorted by this instrument since ever. Of course, when I got to know the real pipe organ in those days, the harmonium got out of my interest. But then, so in my early 20s, I came back to the harmonium, and actually it was a kind of a surprise to me that the harmonium was a kind of an instrument that was totally forgotten. I didn't find anybody who was able to play it in a real harmonium, the proper way. So I did some research, and it was also a kind of surprise to me that people got more and more interested in this sound, special sound of the harmonium, which was, I'm talking about now about the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And then it was a kind of a hobby which went out of control, I must say. Since good instruments were rare, of course I went searching for good instruments, and so it was actually kind of necessity to make a collection of some instruments. But once more, it's very difficult for me to judge what is the impact of the harmonium nowadays. The only thing I can see that the attitude of concert organizers, also orchestra conductors, choir conductors, has changed the last 30 years, let's say.
Right.
They consider the harmonium more and more as a real musical instrument, and when it's in the composition, the composer writes for harmonium, they try to have a real harmonium. I think that's a big difference, which when I compare to 30 years ago. So that's a change. But of course, the harmonium will ever have this very small niche audience that will never change. It's not a purpose to change that. The only thing I see that there is more and more interest also by younger people to have contact with this instrument, and to see also this harmonium, to use it as a kind of, I don't like to use the word tool, but I mean the harmonium shows us quite like, I mean us organists.
Right.
The harmonium teaches us about expression and aesthetics in the 19th century, and that is, I think, the most important aspect in the general way.
Yeah. Well, I have a question that's of interest to me and of concern to me, actually, which is the future of the harmonium in the U.S. Here in Europe, it's very apparent. It's getting it has come back into its own to a very considerable degree. But in the U.S., because the instruments aren't there, whether there would ever be the same kind of, I wouldn't say renaissance, because in the United States it wasn't even there, whether that would ever happen over there.
Well, of course it's an answer. I can't give you the answer.
I know,
about
I
what's
realize
going
that.
to happen in the US, but I think we could compare it a little bit to the situation of the harpsichord in the early 20th century. I mean, the harpsichord has obtained a special status in musical life, also in musical education of keyboard players, and that's the way I see the harmonium. And then I don't think it makes a difference if it's Europe, the US or Japan. I mean, there's a general interest of musicians for this instrument, and I think it's more important than to have this history of the background of an instrument which played a role in musical life. Even in Europe you can distinguish, let's say, France and Belgium to Germany and even Switzerland, where they had a different culture of the harmonium, but it does not keep the Germans from having a big interest in harmoniums. They had a different view of the harmonium, the instruments were different and so on. But we see that the interest in the so-called genuine pressure French harmonium is at least as big in Germany than it is in France, and maybe even bigger.
Right.
So I don't think that's a really important point that you have this background of the history. I don't think it's important.
Well, I'm very glad to hear you're so sanguine